Welcome to Maverick Mind, the podcast. If you are a creative soul, really ready to unlock your potential and design your path to freedom on your terms, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Ellie, designer, entrepreneur, yogi, and coach, and consider this your home to dive into the mindset, energy, and strategy to fast track your way to success. I'll also introduce you to some of the most creative, visionary, and maverick minds I know to share their insights, to feed your curiosity, and to inspire your next creation. I'm so happy you're here, so let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Maverick Mind, the podcast. I'm so excited to be here with you as always, and it's just me today. You've just got me. I wanted to do a series of shorter solo episodes where I can dive deep into something so you can listen when you're in short of time, doing the laundry, doing the washing up, or just when you need a little bit of a pep talk, to be honest. And in that light, I'll be really honest with you guys, as if anyone expects anything else at this point. I've procrastinated over doing this many times, and that's because I think something that I wanted to put out into the world, and it's not that I didn't trust my own voice, because I really do trust my own voice, but I had so many ideas and so many different directions that I wanted to take these solo episodes on. And then I had a kind of snap out of it moment where I was just like, just sit, just put your mic on the table in your kitchen and see what comes out. I'll be really honest with you guys. I mean, some people kind of do things differently. Some of us really need to prepare for things. Some of us are kind of a wing it person, and I'm definitely the latter. I've been winging things that I probably should not wing for this whole time, this whole 34 years of my life. And it's got me quite far so far. I mean, sometimes I've, pushed the boundary a bit too much, or sometimes I have overthought things and kept myself stuck in the same way. And I think that there's something really to be said about just jumping in and winging it. However, sometimes through this method of doing life, doing this creative life in kind of an on the edge type fashion as I do, we sometimes end up doing things the long way round, only to realize how much easier we could have made it ourselves had we done things really differently. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about, if I was somebody who was just about to start or has recently started putting their work out into the world, whether that is through sharing your art or your music online or in person, or whether that is creating a business like I did. I created a fashion business for those that are new here. What would I do differently if I was starting again to kind of condense time or cut back a lot of the faff that I went through and save myself a hell of a lot of sanity? So I want to paint a picture a little bit for you guys. And that is, when I did my first business, I was supported by the Prince's Trust, which, for those who don't know, is the then Prince, now King Charles's charity. We had to do a business plan. We had a business mentor for a short time, and we had to pitch for funding in a kind of a similar way to like a Dragon's Den, or for those of you in the US, called Shark Tank. I got the funding for that, and they kind of send you through this business boot camp. And I kind of thought, okay, so I've been through that thing. I must know a little bit about what it takes to run a business after doing that. And I didn't, to be quite honest with you guys, because it was quite broad. It was so many people doing so many different businesses. Some of them got the funding, some of them never made it, some of them never launched, some of them are still going, which is so incredible, because it's actually a long time ago that I did that. And it did not cover, I think, the most vital part of putting yourself out into the world, and that is your mindset around it. You don't realize, and nobody tells you, and nobody really talks about this enough, I don't think, which is why I talk about it until I'm blue in the face. When you start doing something on your own terms, when you're bringing your vision into life, whatever that vision might be, it is the most pressurized container of self-development, I believe, you can ever go through. Maybe I might be beaten by having children. I'm not sure because I don't have them yet. But through my experience and through everyone I know who also has businesses, they all say the same thing. It is a mirror. It is a reflection of everything that's going on within you is expressed outside of you. And when it's your business or your work that you're putting out into the world, everything's going to show. And that's why I'm so passionate about mindset. And for those who've been around here for a while or know me well, you'll know something that I call body set, which is nervous system regulation. Our mind and our nervous system kind of work in tandem. Sometimes it's the nervous system influencing the mind, sometimes it's the mind influencing the nervous system. But without regulating both and without kind of sitting with yourself daily in both ways, business strategies don't really go very far. For that reason, the number one thing that I would do if I was starting again was hire a mentor. This is something I actually feel a bit like a hypocrite because I don't currently have a mentor, but I've worked with so many mentors in my time, and I can count on one hand, a few that have made the most incredible difference to me, to the way I see myself, the strength that I embody, my work, and to the way I express that through business or through whatever else. And that not only one of those, by the way, is a business mentor. The others are yoga teachers. And that is a really interesting thing, I think. And I was kind of, what inspired me to make this the first of my solo series was something that happened a couple of weeks ago. And that is, if you follow me on my personal Instagram, you might have seen this. I haven't posted much about it, but I did in the day and maybe I think once after. A couple of weeks ago, my yoga teacher, Sharath Joyce, passed away really suddenly. He had a random heart attack while he was hiking up a mountain in Virginia in the US. He was leading a yoga course out there with some teachers that he had trained, and he had a heart attack. And he's only 53, by the way. He wasn't some old guru. He was a dad. He was a son. He was a vibrant human being, and he passed away. And I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen him for a few years personally. However, his teachings and the way that he kind of empowered me, I would say, is the only way I can really describe it, lives within me every day. And on that day, I had this quite grounding feeling of actually the impact that man had on me in so many different ways, from my business to the way I relate to myself, to the way I see myself. And it was through these really subtle tweaks. And it wasn't that he told me, you're powerful, you can do this. It was that he made me see that within myself through the way that he taught. And that is what a great mentor does. And that is the difference between light and day, black and white, between achieving your goals and not. Is if somebody gives you a pattern, if somebody gives you, a step-by-step guide, and that's all they do, you probably won't get there. But if somebody makes you realize your potential through following some strategy that's tailored towards you, that is how you get the most out of people. That is how you empower someone beyond belief. I'll tell you a story. I think the one that's come back to me the most since the day of Sharath's passing, and that is, I actually wasn't in India. So I practiced with him in India many times, but I actually wasn't in India at this time. He was visiting London doing some workshops. I think this is in like 2017, I want to say. We were in this big room in Camden, and there was, I think, 200 people practicing here. It was a big space, and there was a lot of people. I don't know how many, to be quite honest. But it was coming to the end of the class, of this lead class, and I was effing exhausted. The man had beaten me. I was getting to the point of cheating stage, cutting corners, trying to get around doing the hard bits of the series. And there was a moment, and this It's actually the last posture before the end of Ashtanga, the Ashtanga series, if you guys know it. And I was at the back right corner of the room. Sharath was at the top left corner of the room, walking the other direction. So he couldn't actually see what I was doing, I thought. And I made a small cheat that I didn't think anyone would notice to make the posture a little bit more easy and offload a bit of the strain in that moment. And he turned around so quickly, looked me dead in the eye from the opposite side of the room. And it was just this like glint in his eye with this like grunt. And obviously then I, like a kind of naughty child, then did the posture correctly. But it was something that he did thereafter all the time when I saw him. It was this like subtle look that he'd give me of, you're stronger than that. Don't give up now. Your body can, you're way stronger mentally, physically than you think you are. And it was through these really subtle things and sometimes really annoying styles of teaching that forced me to surrender, to believe him, and then put the tools in place to start to believe that within myself. And that is really the power of having mentorship. But when it's on in terms of your creative process and in terms of creative success and your creative journey, I think a lot of us avoid having a mentor because we have really bad experiences with teachers at school or teachers at university. Hi, my name's Ellie, been there. I had a teacher in when I was at university, when I was at fashion school, who I admired so much the first and second year. The third year, I absolutely hated the man. I thought he would do things and try and push people's boundaries to the point where they would burst into tears. And he did that thinking that he was preparing us to be strong for the fashion industry, when actually he was just squishing people's self-belief. And it wasn't the way to be. It wasn't the way to do things at all. That is a sign of a bad mentor, to be honest. And I speak to so many creatives who have really similar experiences. You have teachers that try and project their own belief of what is cool or what is arty or what is abstract or what is great onto them. And then they lose their own voice in the process. And they take a really long time to find it again. A really, really long time, and a really long time of really long, deep process of self-discovery to try and find that again. And it's because we have these bad experiences, I think, that a lot of artists and a lot of creatives struggle to then put their trust in a coach or in a mentor to help them along their journey. Then we also have glamorized this idea that we have to do it alone, and that it's more impressive somehow if you do it alone. Like it's somehow that you're stronger than your quote unquote competition if you don't have help along the way. But that, I'm sorry, is absolute bullshit. Having somebody as on a creative path, having somebody that nurtures your potential and empowers you to express yourself fully, and also teaches you methods and tools that you can use to get the most out of sharing your work. It is honestly the difference between night and day between achieving your goals and not. I've had clients say that about my service. And I'm not saying this to say, hey, hire me, not at all. I'm saying this, if you can tell by my stories, to say, find your soul mentor, please. Find somebody who will uplift you. Find somebody that you really vibe with. If that's me, that's awesome. But if it's not, okay, doesn't matter. All I want for you, for you and from you, is to find that person that you trust with your life, that is ahead of you on the path that you're on, and that can help condense time and get the most out of bringing you back toward yourself, understanding, teaching you how to trust yourself, your vision, your goals, your designs, art, music, whatever, talent. Bring that to life in a way that's actually going to be successful, are actually going to achieve what you want it to achieve. I think also another thing that we struggle with as creators is we all say, oh, I'm not like the business end, or I'm not the creative person, or I'm not we are the creative person, sorry, that's not what I mean, but we're not the one that does the businessy bit. When I wasn't the one that does the businessy bit, and I did business studies A level. I did a business course with the Princess Trust, and I still didn't believe that I was the businessy type, but you just have to learn it. If you really want to get from A to B fast, you've got to learn it. And you've got to just put yourself out there and not be afraid of making mistakes. I've made so many mistakes. I'm sure you make loads of mistakes through your work that you've learned over time and talent that you can get past, or that you can transform into something else, takes you on a different kind of journey. Putting your work out there and trying to master how to share it in a way that will actually magnetize the right people is a practice. And it's something you just have to jump and keep practicing, to be honest. There are strategies, there are tools and things like that to make sure that you're going in the right direction and that you're speaking to the right people. But at some point, you have to just ask for help in terms of actually pushing yourself to learn that thing that makes you uncomfortable. And then it's a rinse and repeat thing. It is a just keep going and just keep testing things out and believing that people will see it build and people will come. People are magnetized by energy. Keep putting that energy out there and people will come 100%. But as I said, it kind of comes back to that idea that we have to ask for help and that we have to trust that we're not going to be hurt again this time, that we're not going to be squished down again this time if you have been by a teacher in the past. And take a mentor that will do what my yoga teacher did, and that is inspire me to believe that I was stronger than I think I am. If your mentor's not doing that, you got the wrong one. You just got to move on. And as I say, finding the right one is like finding the right partner. But once you found them, everything fits into place so much more easily. Trust me, it's honestly the difference between night and day, as I said, but achieving your goals or not. The second thing I would do is launch fast, launch small, and grow with feedback. That kind of comes back to what I was saying about marketing and just putting things out there and hoping for the best, with a bit of strategy in there too, because that will stop you from wasting so much time. A lot of us have an idea, or we talk about putting our work out into the world and what that might look like and what the dream might be. And then before you know it, another year is gone and you haven't done it. And again, let me tell you a story. When I launched my first business, I did that talking about it stage for 4 years. During that 4 years, by the way, was including the Princess Trust course and all that process. But still, it took me a long time after that to actually launch the thing. It was only when I had this kind of snap out of it moment that after talking about it for 4 years, I launched it 6 months later. So from 4 years of wasting time, 6 months of hard graft, I launched a business that ended up doing pretty well. In those 4 years, the thing that held me back, I think, was fear of putting my work out there, of course, as we all struggle with the courage to do that. It was a fear of success. It was also a fear of failure, as a lot of us have too. There was a little bit of mistrust, like, can I really do this on my own? It was a little bit of, in hindsight, I've never shared this out loud before, but in hindsight, there was a little bit of kind of growing out of the idea. You know, when you have an idea and it's like that full body, yes, I want to do that. And then you kind of sit on it a bit too long and then it drifts away and you don't have the same energy around it anymore. It was kind of like that, but I just kept going because I talked about it for that long. I felt like I had to give it a shot and I had to re-energize myself, which, as you all know, is always way harder to do. That first moment of inspiration is always a lot easier to come when it's spontaneous rather than continuously trying to pep talk yourself into believing you're doing the right thing. But that's maybe another story for another day. But if you have got that full body fuck yes to a vision that you have, whether it's living some kind of life, whether it is some level of success, whether it's some level of freedom, whether it's owning a business, whether it's putting your work out there and it being in certain kinds of places, that's planted in your heart for a reason. I think the quickest way to launch fast and grow with feedback is to believe that. Is to believe that this is planted in my heart for a reason and I need to go for it now. I need to catch this wave now, otherwise it will go. And it's okay if it goes fast. It usually means that maybe you've evolved, maybe you've changed, or maybe your vision has changed, maybe what you want has changed. But I think that when it keeps coming back to you, when it keeps haunting you, and when you can feel it in your body, I've said it so many times in this podcast, when you can feel that full body fuck yes to something, you got to ride the wave. And to do that, sometimes you have to trim the fat. Sometimes you have to, instead of going for the big version of what you want, which is something, again, we all find really hard because we all have this like big, huge vision. And then when we can't do 1% of that, it feels like you're not really getting what you want. But when you're trying to put anything out into the world, whether that's art, music, design, opening a design agency, opening up a clothing line or something like that, like I did, you have to kind of test it first to see if people really want it. And it's not that if you're putting art or music out into the world or poetry, it's not that people don't want what you have to say. It's just the way that you're talking about it. Maybe might need to be tweaked a bit, or maybe who you're talking to might need to be tweaked a bit. When it's more about design, then there is a kind of, sometimes there is more of a need for a market, and you need to kind of test to see if it's a product or if it's a kind of look that people are wanting at the moment. And to do that, the easiest way to do is to share before you're ready. Is to share before, even if you've got a product ready, is to, if you're a singer, maybe it's sharing bits of music before you've even completed an album. If you're a painter, maybe it's sharing one piece of art in different locations. You have to kind of launch really, really small and see what happens. And then if you don't need a lot of money to get bigger, then you can just keep growing on your own. But if you do need funding to get bigger, then you have to exercise the patience to bootstrap yourself, or exercise the patience to just talk about one thing for a really long time until it kind of gains a bit of traction, and then you can start talking about everything else. Now, I've just said a word there that I think also is like the most important thing, and I think the most valuable thing that I learned through, you all know my journey is more yoga and meditation, and that is patience. Being patient with yourself and being patient with your process. We all want to achieve what we want to achieve, like it's Amazon Prime. Like you're gonna ring a bell and it's gonna come tomorrow, or order something and it'll come tomorrow. That's not how it works. You have to kind of delusionally believe every single day that it's gonna come. I'm gonna keep showing up and it's gonna come. And that's because when you have that full body yes to something, and like I said, when you have that and it's really in your heart for a reason, I believe, again, it's because a future version of you does have that. It's we keep showing up, we keep honing a craft, we keep trusting our talent, we keep pushing ourselves into places that we feel uncomfortable and pushing past that. It's going to come. That energy you put out into the world, it's only a matter of time. And you have to keep showing up with that amount of energy and that mindset every day. And that is a really, really patient process. So patience is one of the most important things you can ever exercise. The other ones, again, are mindset things, are nurturing your mindset. This is the third thing I would do if I was starting again, by the way, is nurturing your mindset around money, visibility, and selling every single day. Money, visibility, and sales every single day. Even if something you don't feel like you're directly selling something, like you're a musician or something like that maybe you don't feel like you're directly selling something, but one day you're going to sell an album, one day you're going to sell a ticket to your gig, one day you want to be on stage at a festival or something, and people have bought a ticket for that, and you're getting paid to play there. So you do kind of sell yourself in some level. We have to get comfortable with receiving money. And that is a tricky thing for a lot of creative people, because creatives for the longest time have had quite a weird relationship and quite a weird narrative around money. And I had this kind of from both ends, because when I started teaching yoga, the yoga world had a really, really, really weird relationship with money as well. So I kind of had this double layered creative noise and the yoga well-being space noise all around, that it was really shameful to want money, that it was shameful to be the kind of person that had a lot of money. How many of you will resonate with these kind of phrases? Maybe you've heard them from someone in the street. Maybe you realize you believe them yourself. Money is the root of all evil. That's a very classic one. This is one that really got me. I think this maybe just an English thing, that people that have money are out of touch, or that posh people, we call them in England, are out of touch, or that they don't really understand real life, or that they're kind of cringe. And if you have money, then you're going to be one of those people. So you probably should just keep yourself small so you don't ever look that uncool. As creatives, we also have ones like artists never make any money until they die. How many businesses fail within the first year? You won't realize until you really sit down and think about it how much of this gunk is in your mind at any one time. How much of this shit is really keeping you from attracting the money that you deserve and desire. For the longest time and for many years, we've had this narrative that all creatives are kind of broken, tortured souls, or that we're broke, that we have no money. Whereas actually, two of the biggest things that will like stifle your creativity the most, I think, are not looking after your mental health and not having any money. I mean, having an abundance of money can also be a limitation, actually. I'm not going to go into that. But what I'm talking about, feeling like you have to starve in order to be like some kind of edgy artist, or that you're not doing it for the money, or that selling makes you big-headed, or trying to sell yourself or put yourself out there makes you a bit cringe, or how many of these bullshit beliefs run through your mind. Honestly, write them all down on a piece of paper right now and reflect them back to yourself and ask, are any of these actually true? No. I'm sorry, but if you want to really have that life that I know we all dream of, where you get to just create all day and live abundantly as a result, where you don't have to worry about money anymore, where you don't have to worry about your family or living on the breadline, like you get to just create and live freely in whatever capacity that might be and create your best work. To do that, you need money. And here's a reframe about money that really changes the game for me. I mean, I'll probably make a course about money at some point, because it's been a journey for me, as I said. But actually, I'm going to give you two things. That money is like a brick. You can use it to destruct by throwing it through a window, or you can build a house, meaning that it is an amplifier for whoever is holding it. You're a good person, then good things are going to come from it. If you're not such a good person, then not such good things are going to come from it. If you're a conscious person, then you'll stay yourself when you have a lot of money. If you're always seeking external validations from this, that, then you won't be that happy when you have a lot of money. That's kind of the long and short of it, to be honest. And the second thing is that you don't actually desire money. When we're trying to make money, we're not desiring the paper, we're not desiring the number, of course. You're desiring the experiences that it can provide, or you're desiring the experience that you can get with it. For example, if you're making money in order to give your family a really thriving life where they don't have to worry so much, you're desiring money to be able to fund this creative life. You're desiring money to be able to travel as much as you want, but live in a house that really feeds your creativity. You're in a space that just like really brings yourself into that creative vibe. It takes money. So we have to continuously nurture our mindset around money and be really aware about money, sales, and what it means to put yourself out there, what it means about you as a person to try and sell something. The other one is visibility. So it's the same thing kind of as sales. I think a lot of us, we have this idea that if you're visible, then maybe other people will find you a bit cringe. Or if you're visible, then there's kind of no going back, or it'll mean something about you as a person, that you're kind of you want to be in the sort of spotlight, or that you think that you're really good, so you should put your stuff out there. I'm sorry, you should think you're good enough to put yourself out there. You should believe in your talent, because if you're listening to this, you're more than talented enough to make a thriving career of what you're doing. Otherwise, you would never find me. And we get a real ick around visibility, but I think again, there's a mindset reframe around, you're putting your face on something, yeah, or you're putting your work out there, yeah, but you're not doing it for you, you're doing it for them. So the people that are buying your piece of art, that are listening to your music, that are going to buy your product or wear your clothing or whatever it might be, you're sharing yourself for their benefit. So they can see themselves in what you create, or buy into the vision that you display or vision that you share, and say, yeah, I want a piece of that. So again, there's a lot of nuance to this, and I'll go a lot deeper into that another day. I'll talk about visibility in a really, really deep level another day, but those are 3 things that I thought I would share, that if I was starting this all again, and these are 3 things that I put through my clients through when they're starting, and that is hiring a mentor, launch fast, launch small, grow with feedback, and nurturing your mindset about sales, visibility, and money as much as you can. Those little beliefs, they really trip us up more than you would think they would. So again, you have to really keep coming back to. Again, thanks so much for joining me for today's podcast, everyone. I really hope you love this little solo rant. There will be plenty more of these to come. If you have anything that you want specific insights into, then DM me on Instagram at Maverick Mind Co. I'll be more than happy to create another podcast just around something that you really need me to. As always, I keep forgetting to say this whenever I put a show out, but if you've got to the end of this and that you love this, please do rate and review the show on whatever platform you're listening to this on. If you're on Spotify, you can also leave a comment. I love seeing those. But it really does help a sister out. I didn't realize actually how much until I launched this show. So now I go back to every podcast that I love and I rate every single one because I know how much it helps. But yeah, so please do leave a rating and a review if you can, or a comment if you're listening on Spotify. And thanks so much, everybody. I'll see you again next Monday. Bye. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Maverick Mind. I hope that you've loved it, and if you have, I would appreciate it so much if you would subscribe and write a 5-star review on wherever you're listening to this podcast from. If you'd like to keep the conversation going, I invite you to join me over on Instagram at maverickmindco, or on my website maverickmind.elliefoden.com. And I'll see you in another podcast very, very soon.